I welcome to the May 4th Wednesday of the month's meeting of East Bay Gray Panthers. I'm Betsy Morris, and with Carol Crooks, my co-convener, and other members. It's a small meeting today, and we don't have a scheduled speaker, so we are the featured speakers, and we'll have time, each of us, to share a little bit. So the first item I'd like to share on, Carol and I and Dirk and Pietro Calogero and several other, Crystal Bird were at this event that we helped plan and co-sponsored. It was a die-in to protect Medi-Cal and Medicaid. So this picture that I'm sharing, and maybe people might want to make it larger, is from an article in KALW Public Media, The Daily. It's a print, and one of their youth members produced this very nice article, Francesca Fenzi. So you could see the picture of kind of the point. There were about twice as many. What you're looking at is a bunch of people lying down. There were probably 50 or 60 people lying down, and I will say that Dirk and Pietro and myself, I'm behind the column in the middle, and Dirk and Pietro are to the right of that, but we're in the last row, so you can't really see us. This article there's a link to the article or a blog post on the die-in in the chat, KLW. So just to show off a few. Oh, that was the main picture. Okay.
Should I share some of your pictures?
Yeah, I have some very bad photos, but you can see what it was like in the back rows. Go ahead. Oh, Pietro is standing up. He's the man on the right in the black jacket. So here's our little contingent. Robert, and then I think Carol, I'm not sure, you must have been next to him. And here's some of the other.
The right.
Yeah. So keep going, Rains. Just keep going. We're just, for those who can't see it very well, I'll read some of the signs. So one says, stop thief from stealing our health care. 83 hospitals to close. 3 million lose Medi-Cal. And, what does that last part say?
105 million.
What does it say? 100 trillion? 100 billion. What is that? Of
cuts.
Yeah, that went to ICE, as I recall. Slashing should only happen in, I don't know, some other sign.
Horror movies.
Pardon?
In horror movies.
Somebody else can read these. So here you see what was happening with the public speakers and the monitors.
You put a lot into working with other groups and organizing this and trying to make sure they were thinking from the point of view of older people here.
Oh, here's a great shot of four members of our contingent.
Oh, that was Hallie that was helping hold the Gray Panther banner.
Yeah, she sang at the end, so Hallie was present. Robert, our treasurer, was there. His sign says denied baby formula. Then we have Crystal Bird with a huge red hat, and Carol Crooks in wearing a hospital gown, and her sign says Gray Panthers, Berkeley, East Bay. And then our two other people were Pietro and Dirk, who brought toe tags. What did your toe tag say, Dirk, as you laid down?
Don't recall. Something like died from malnutrition. Was
That's
that
right.
because no ambulance?
Yep. Mine said died from homelessness, just appreciated, John Doe. So, yeah.
I have to note Carol's sign also is actually from the Center for Independent Living, like it was for our table at one of their events,
Right.
something. I
So
love the collaboration.
the folks, the row behind us were folks using wheelchairs, and they were from our
LTS
coalition
for all.
members. Pardon?
LTSS for all.
They were members of our the LTSS for All, Long-Term Supports and Services for All Coalition. We brought
them in hand.
Pardon?
And hand in hand.
Hand in Hand is a member of the coalition with us. And, it was an incredible experience being on the planning team. It was just maybe 12, 13 people. The biggest and union members and Indivisible. Now, this was Indivisible Berkeley, but there was so much interest in doing this again already. Like there's someone from St. Rose Hospital, does that sound right? That's asking, they'd like to do a die-in. And here, if we keep going with some of the pictures, Rains, we see the die-in. Go ahead, stop the revolving door. Rural hospitals closed. There's Pietro kind of on his side, and Dirk is the corpse under the black tarp.
Wow.
Feet off. So I'd like to get the just where I thought this was important, and someone should time me on this, is I was asked by CIL. They have a new political organizer, Mia, and she would like to work with us. Mackay Freeman, who's also works for CIL and is very involved, has asked me to give her a call. Here's our fabulous people from LTSS. We welcome any members who want to be part of the LTSS for All coalition meetings. They organize very well organized, like phone calls, lobby visits, and they are actively partnered with CARA so that, even though it's two
California Alliance of Retired
organizations,
Americans.
Yeah, this to me is how we start to get not just our name out. Here's another member from Center for, no, I think this was Hand in Hand. Anyway, it was a really good time to meet across all these small city boundaries or, different worlds we live in. And I'm just really want to encourage anyone else who wants to be involved in planning a die-in. Can we plan? Will there be enough of us willing to come out? We do not have to be the largest constituency. We do not have to do all the work, but there'll be a toolkit of what was helpful coming out soon from the planning group. And
Betsy, we'll
yes.
go back to that last picture, Rains.
Yep, got it.
Look at the one on the left.
Yeah.
If you are Black with serious mental illness, you are 40% more likely to be killed by police. But an older Black man, SMI, is 5 times as likely. All SMI are dying 25 years sooner than we are.
And SMI stands for the serious mental illness.
Yeah.
So I know Carol Mrozovic spends a lot of time trying to get us, getting all of Berkeley to really, really get this crisis center, this going, which and getting more funds into the mental health world. And that's a big issue countywide and frankly nationally as well. So if you go one more, there's keep going. Keep going. I'm looking for the one. Okay, see these two. Here we go. Next one, Rains. Next one. So just to understand, here we are, mostly, not entirely, a group of white people from Oakland, North Oakland and Berkeley. And the vibe was so wonderful. This woman in the red, she is part of the United Seniors of Oakland and Alameda County. Miss Cecilia, our board member who lives in that area, is a member of that group and recommended, said, you got to talk to them. So here's a member from that walk club. They have a walk club. I don't know, maybe we have a walk club here in Berkeley. I'm sure there are some senior centers that might have it. Anyway, and here's one of the security guard people she turned out also to be traffic patrol. Just, they were happy. People recognize the seriousness of these cuts because there's already groups having to move out of their offices at this community mall because of cuts. Those cuts are real and they're happening. We had endorsements, and now I'd like to see about us, where is our interest for helping groups in Berkeley organize, especially maybe partnering not just with CIL, but with Indivisible Berkeley. Here's a lot of people, they're worried about democracy. I mean, we all go to the No Kings marches, but this, to me, these substantial issues, these were not working when the Democrats were they were sort of working when the Democrats had control, but we stand up and be, collaborative, and because we're more involved in the issues that really affect people's well-being and daily life, getting to the ground. So I'll stop there and I see hands are up, and I also want to welcome Candida. That's
and Bob the Free Radical.
You. Candida, I can talk, or she can talk a little later about the event that Gray Panthers hosted for the public, an affordable housing day. Candida was one of the folks who came. Bob the Free Radical, and Robert McGarrian, do you want to, actually, should we stop for introductions or for questions? What do you think, Rains or Carol?
Let's keep rolling, and Candida's on a schedule, so maybe get Christopher's question and then
Sure.
transition to the other event you wanted to talk.
Sounds good.
The question is, I have a response to the mention of people with serious mental illness and homeless people. There's a new group forming, which is a persons with lived experience lobbying group, advocating for more investment for people with serious mental illness. So if anybody's interested in that, I could put you in touch with them.
I think that would be a great resource and a great connection. Christopher, do you want to put that in chat or email that to Carol or me? Maybe we'll come back to that. I'm going to flag that. Is it Oakland? Is it California based or national?
Right now it's Alameda County.
Excellent.
And some individuals, there's a former Oakland City Council member who also talked about hooking up with people in other areas because it's really a national interest, but It comes down to local programs and actions, and so there's a lot of emphasis on that.
Great.
Also, we were talking about, I don't know if people are aware of it, but the Clubhouse organization, which is another alternative that we don't have here. I think there may be one in San Francisco, but it's an interesting organization that offers alternative approach to, and it's rather successful. So people might want to look into that.
Yeah.
Alternative approach to what? I mean, what was the alternative approach?
It's called Clubhouse, which is a nonprofit affiliate network. And what they do is they create a house in the center where peers and others meet regularly to help people get more functional and even keel, and with a lot of support. And it's been very successful, and people that had been succumbing to the mental illnesses and becoming dysfunctional have gone back to work, now have social support and commitments to the center. So this is an interesting program. like I said, it's a blend of peers and others.
Nice.
Oh, that's good. Is there any counseling offered or,
There's peer counseling, and they can connect people with other professional resources as well.
Thank you.
I will say that a group called Families of People with Severe Mental Illness, FAMSL, they were represented and participated in the die-in planning team. So it's a different side of the equation from the peers. This is families, but that's definitely folks showing up with that concern. Anyway, I'm gonna just ask Bob, do you want to say your name, show your face, or put in the chat who you are, how you're here today, just briefly? Well, when you can. And
Bob's already put some
oh, okay,
with a link to
I'm
his.
sitting here looking at chat too.
Oh.
Thank you.
No, yeah, he doesn't have camera and mic available, but
Okay.
yep. Welcome. We'll remember to keep an eye on that. Keep you involved.
Okay.
It's coming.
Yeah. Okay.
So while we still have Candida, if we do, perhaps no, Betsy, if she should report on it.
That would be great. Give me a minute to then I can back you up if need be.
And I'll actually provide a little context just for a moment. If I can share, windows, right? Too many windows to cover up. But basically, this was, I'll just show what was on the website there. This is behind the scenes now. It was a tour, part of Affordable Housing Month in the East Bay, visiting several different communities that Betsy led.
Well, it was specifically types of we were discussing and pointing out permanently affordable housing or prospectively permanently affordable housing that are resident led or have strong tenant associations and either own the property or hope to own and are buying. So Candida, though, I'm giving it away. Do you feel up for saying a few words about the Saturday?
Sure, I can say a few words, and thank you. I don't know if I'll be very deep or comprehensive, but
you were there.
I was there, and I loved it. So first, just by way of introduction, my name is Candida Haynes. I've lived in Oakland for, I guess, almost 10 years now. And I don't even know what to say about myself. I come here from the free open source tech interest, free and open source. So I've always been skeptical about how we're using AI. Just mentioning that because I saw something in the chat. And my interest in housing grew out of my interest in workforce development and support. And since then, I've started to understand a little more about the mental health supports that go into supporting housing.
Is somebody sitting there?
So the context I'm coming from for the tour is that I saw it on the Affordable Housing Month calendar. I was actually surprised to see that Betsy was heading it up. I just saw, tour cooperative living and in Berkeley, and just wanted to see what that was like because I've been living in Oakland in a co-living house, which is a little bit different. It's all renters. I guess what stood out for me on the tour was the opportunity for intergenerational preservation of housing and also making housing more available and accessible. Let's see, where to even start? I'm 51 myself. I just had a birthday, and I feel like, representing Gen X, there are different pieces of the puzzle and understanding of what cooperative living is and can be that comes from different generations. So when I was at the meeting and taking the tour and talking to people, I was relieved to see that there was still a strong foundation for the work that goes into cooperative living, and for the principles that it was founded on. And there's also an opportunity. I don't want it to disappear, because I think our society will be better for it, if it does exist for more people. And I met Angela, who, I don't remember the name of the co-ops, but she lived at the first co-op that I got to see where the meeting was happening. And like I said, what stood out to me was that I could see immediately where the gaps were. So for example, like a shared understanding among the longer term residents, and then some pieces around education that Angela had pointed out that I think represent one of the missing links, and that is really creating stewardship, so that as future generations come in to housing that is currently cooperative housing, it continues to be cooperative and based on the values that it's founded on. Fair housing is what Angela was talking about, training people around fair housing, which is something I have found to be missing in my own experiences with, I guess, cooperative flavored rentals. I also see that there are a lot of opportunities to purchase, and opportunities with a little o. I don't know to what extent the money is there, but I have seen in Oakland that there are a lot of houses that where a lot of property was purchased with the expectation of gentrification. And the silver lining is that our society doesn't necessarily support that level of gentrification. People who need housing are working people. And I think there's an opportunity to put pressure on banks to just be realistic about what society can afford, and not just revisit those expectations of those high profit margins. I think they have to admit that they overestimated how much money that they could make from what they were trying to do. And I'm a little all over the place, but I do feel like banks should revisit what they're expecting to get. I think they're being unrealistic. And I think those lower prices that are just waiting to come to fruition also provide another opportunity to make affordable housing more accessible. The last thing I'll say is that at other affordable housing meetings that I've attended recently, they were talking about people bequeathing houses to affordable housing projects, which I think is a great idea. And honestly, it's great leverage to encourage young people to actually listen and hear what we're talking about when we talk about stewardship and being prepared to really preserve housing for the, well, I'll say for the majority of people, and also, but honestly, more importantly, for people who are overlooked and whose voices aren't as present in discussion. Well, basically in the capitalist context about housing. So I'll stop there. I talked a lot more about other things.
Well,
instead
you know,
of this
you're new
war.
to Gray Panthers. You're welcome back anytime. You can become
Okay.
a member. There's no age up or down. But I do want to point out, I know Candida because we both serve on the board of this kind of wild but chugging along nonprofit, a new nonprofit called Neighborship, which was aimed at getting more like permanent vehicle parking, safe parking, and tiny homes in West Oakland. And that's where I met her a few years ago through the founder. And I'm just delighted that we got a chance to reconnect because we haven't been meeting as a board very often. So wonderful. Any question? I will just name Addison Court Housing Co-op was the first place we visited. Then we walked around, to 7th Street where there was a property, a multi-family property with 7 units that was for sale and the developers, who are very low key. I mean, they weren't builders of hundreds of units. They did one small multifamily property at a time, and their vision, the prices were still like out of reach for many of us, but they're considered moderate income. For moderate income households, like 2 working parents, and a kid or 2. And what was I going to share? Yeah, so we visited that because our organization has endorsed social housing and the Housing Now legislative platform, and that currently Housing Now California is the organization that kind of manages the state coalition or coordinates. And we're working on, just to show you all, this is the kind, so those property developers, which is kind of often used as a bad word in Berkeley, they'll actually give a discount if 5 people got together, created their own cooperative housing legal structure, and bought it in bulk. Like he's 30, again, it's not for the lowest of us, the ones who are, on Section 8 housing, which part of our members are. But it's an opportunity, especially for like younger working families. So that's part of the social housing movement, is to build money and inventory for permanently affordable housing. So I appreciated what you talked about, Candida, about stewardship. And then finally, we went to Strawberry Creek Lodge, which we've had relations with, and spoke about, their history and desire to buy themselves back from SAHA, Satellite Affordable Housing Associates, anyway, you get the drift. I was just trying to show possibilities, and I got to walk around my own neighborhood, West Berkeley, which I haven't done in a long time. Okay. So that's, healthcare for all and long-term supports and services for all, and various kinds of keeping health care available to people of all incomes, but especially vulnerable people. Housing, social housing, and fair housing, that's another issue that I put a lot of my time in, that Gray Panthers has been known for, and I hope will continue, but that's another issue. Mental health is not an arena that we've put a lot of emphasis on, but I know there's such a deep need, and there are groups like Friends of Adeline, and Carol Marasovic, our esteemed member, has put a lot of time into that. And of course, related to that is homelessness and justice for homelessness and housing and healthcare and mental health is all part of that. Okay, so I think that's enough about our latest activities, that you as Gray Panthers, as supporters and voting members, you let us put our name out there. And I think the question I wanted to share was just what priorities do you personally feel we have the capacity, or you would like to spearhead within the Gray Panther name and programs? Do we, what are the priorities for the next 6 months? I'm hoping we can continue doing what we're doing, but it's really good to be able to check in and make sure there's not something you have a passion about that we're missing, or an issue that you want to, help develop as a Gray Panther issue here in the East Bay. So I'll leave it at that. Did I just confuse people, Carol? Hey, Michael Haggerty.
Betsy, I think there was also, it may have been since our last meeting, the lobby day in Sacramento.
Yeah, not. Do you want to speak to which organization? Because I know both CARA and LTSS for All is lobbying in Sacramento or on Zoom with legislators about the healthcare budget in particular.
Mostly just calling attention that's something we've been doing and a part of, and there's sort of more opportunities than most people realize. We are understaffed and over opportunized with places for things to happen, and we aren't necessarily able to share everything in time. It's hard when somebody comes to us and says, "We're doing this next week. Can you blast this out to all your people?" It's like, well, no, we'd like to bring things in context. And not, when we shared another event, I started to see people unsubscribe last week. So we're trying to stay relevant.
Any other? Yeah, thank you, Rains. There is a call out from CARA. We are all members of CARA by virtue of our Gray Panther membership. And CARA has lots of connections with labor. Our Alameda County CARA CAP has a lot of retired labor folk, which is fantastic for their activism. And I would say that the die-in would not have been as successful if not for Peter Shapiro, who's a retired postal worker, and the what's it called? Sorry, United Health Workers, SEIU 1021, and I think there's some other numbers. They got out their workers whose jobs are at risk. So anyway, just to say, if anyone would, Hallie and Robert are active along with mostly me and sometimes Julia with CARA, but we have Zoom meetings once a month and then regularly scheduled, well, not regularly scheduled, but other activities with CARA. So I encourage everyone here to become a member and attend those meetings or participate, because I can't always just forward these emails. I get a little overwhelmed. So if someone would like to be the CARA contact and get those invitations to our members, that would be great. But for now, I just invite you to sign up with them so you know when CARA and the partner, the collaboration with LTSS for All, those staff people are collaborating, which is great. So I'll leave it at that. Michael, you were you want to say hi and check in briefly about your work, your things, your how's the Berkeley Tenants Union?
The Berkeley Tenants Union is fine. I don't, I just managed to clear off enough work to peel off some time here to log on here for a minute or two. The Berkeley Tenants Union is fine. The Berkeley Tenants Convention was a success. We have a slate of progressive tenant-friendly candidates for the rent board. And that campaign will be kicking off over the next couple months, probably initially getting registrations and financing done, and then, start to do some canvassing and some more of that sort of concrete outreach. So, that's it. That's what I got.
Well, you asked us to share a table for Juneteenth. And
Yes.
we usually try to share a table with a community
So
ally. But we don't endorse candidates, so that would be like your business over there.
So I mean, we can do. I think there've also been some conversations of talking to Our Revolution. All three of us could have a table. I wouldn't want to like try to shortchange the Juneteenth organizers any more than necessary. We do have some budget, but I think the Berkeley Tenants Union and the Gray Panthers would be extremely appropriate, particularly because, as we know, although there are a lot of young people and students in Berkeley, there are also a lot of older people out there. Housing is becoming a very acute issue for older people across the United States, and particularly in California, in the Bay Area. The largest growing segment of unhoused and unsheltered people across the country right now are people over 55. So, it's the reality is that among other populations that are being acutely and disproportionately affected by the current economic situation, older people are one of them. So, having the Berkeley Tenants Union and the Gray Panthers share a booth or a table is, as far as I'm concerned, an excellent idea.
Yeah,
Can I speak,
yeah,
Betsy?
go ahead, Julia.
Yeah, Julia
Okay,
knows more about this stuff than I do, so please.
She's been
Yeah, I'm a
Former chair.
longtime member of the Berkeley Tenants Union, and I was chair of the steering committee for a number of years. And I was on this steering committee for even longer.
Yeah.
And it's only recently that I have stepped down from that, because after 20 some odd years, I thought it was somebody else's turn. But yeah, rent control is something that we have to keep an eye on and make sure that we keep. And as many of you probably know, when rent control was first I don't know the word, when we first got rent control in Berkeley, it was if you moved out of an apartment, the rent didn't go up for the next person. And then there was this infamous bill called Costa-Hawkins, which changed that. And so now if somebody moves out of a rent controlled apartment with reasonable rate, it immediately goes up to market rate for the new tenant. And this is made serious inroads on rent control and affordable housing in Berkeley. I'm one of the lucky people. I live in a rent controlled building, in a rent controlled apartment, and I've lived here for a very long time. And my rent is still under $1,000 a month, which is unusual these days.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons I could afford, after I was no longer working there, I could afford to continue to live in Berkeley. And this is something that, the name of the infamous law was Costa-Hawkins, if I didn't mention that. Yeah. And for a long time, we had an active group trying to repeal Costa-Hawkins, but it wasn't very successful, and it just finally faded away. And I think it might be time to start another effort to repeal Costa-Hawkins, because rents are getting insupportable for ordinary people in Berkeley. And, there's a small one-bedroom apartment like mine nowadays goes for several $1,000s a month. And who can afford that? I mean, what kind of people can afford that? I mean, we're losing the longtime people who live in Berkeley to people who have good jobs in San Francisco or something who want to live in Berkeley. Anyway, this is something to keep in mind, that the rent control we have is still vulnerable. Any day some developer could bribe some council people into abolishing that law. And so that's something that we have to keep our eyes on, and we have to keep reminding people that it doesn't have to be this way, that we could reinstate permanent rent control rather than tenant, individual tenant rent control. Thank you.
Thanks, Julia.
Thank you, Julia.
Hey, Dave. So, I've added, so we have more issues, but I just wanted to bring attention to the Juneteenth festival. Robert, did you reserve us a booth? Have you cleared that? Can you say a little bit about that?
I sent the stuff off to them, but I haven't heard back yet, so I'm going to call them up, you see.
Thank you.
Find out what the date
I think
is.
Dolores Cooper is the person in charge,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So, all right. So once we know, so that'll be June 20th?
21st.
21st. So,
21st. Yeah.
it'd be great to get volunteers to take a shift. And also Michael, I guess our board needs to just kind of finalize the collaboration, but usually we've worked with you before, worked with Tenants Union. You're a member of Gray Panthers, but just FYI, we will want to run it by the rest of the board.
Please let me know. And for the record, I will be there.
Yeah.
If not for the duration, for a good part of it.
Yeah.
And my wife will be there. Elizabeth will be there as well. So,
Okay.
that's, in terms of bodies to hang out, that's two right there.
So, if it's okay, I'll add to the possible activities of the next 6 months that Arlene Hipp, if some of you have been here, she's often present and does incredible, cross leadership work in Oakland and nationally. And she and I would like to propose a housing summit. This is less about budget cuts and more about where public monies and even our own community organizing energies could be going, which is towards a more people-centered, with public financing types of housing. But I think issues like what Julia brought up, we need Costa-Hawkins, what kind of rent control, because a bunch of national groups met in New York City and issued a statement. We need forms of national rent control, and we need a national tenants movement. And I personally think Gray Panthers are actually primed, we're primed to meet that call, with related issues that we've already historically been involved with. So I kind of want to float that idea with more of the members, but I'm adding that a housing summit, and then of course almost it's more of a teach-in in a way, and hopefully. Okay, Candida, thanks for joining. Now you can hear what we're conspiring about. So
yes, thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
See you soon. I guess, there's the health, there's the opportunity to do die-ins, there's an opportunity to plan kind of long-term for something in housing.
I'm on my second Zoom, but what's up?
I'm going to mute you, David. There we go. Any feedback on that? Obviously, we can't do everything all at once, but it feels sometimes like we all need to do everything all at once. And we can at least plan ahead. There's also, so with that in mind, we could get, I heard a fantastic speaker last month that was part of the EBHO. We're a member of EBHO, was part of their, what's it called? Renters United Network. Carol, you're part of that. And the RCO, is that what's called? RTO, Regional Tenants Organization, with Damien?
Residents United Network, and RCOP, Regional Committee. I don't know what RCOP stands for.
Maybe organizations or something, or organizing. But the point is, they had a great speaker the other month, and I want to recommend it and maybe get the same speaker in. It's discussing the movement for the affirmatively furthering fair housing. This is an issue that, some people here fought for, fair housing law in the 60s and 70s. And what, at least I did not, I was too young, but I now realize that a lot of those goals have been undermined consistently. Thank you, National Association of Realtors, but other groups informally have not been really pursuing fair housing. So this talk was really, really good to look at where the shortfalls are and where the movement that preceded Biden to expand on and improve fair housing law operationally in local communities. So the affirmatively furthering fair housing law that was passed under Biden was explicitly, y'all might already know this, explicitly retracted by Trump. And the budgets for fair housing offices, federal support for local and regional fair housing offices dried up. And they're still surviving, but I don't think they can just operate on automatic pilot. They're those of us who support this concept of fair housing, I'd like us to get a little more educated, or I'd like me to get more educated. So they had a wonderful speaker from, I think, the National Law Center for Low-Income Housing or something like that. And I would like to bring them in as a speaker. And because I feel it's part of a holistic housing platform that we can support, and that our allies here in California with Housing Now would also be very involved with. So, and I feel like it might be a start for some kind of affordable housing teach-in or summit here in the county. So that's kind of where my mind is going. And yeah, comments, Christopher.
Yeah, like I said, I've been doing a lot of work with the continuum of care for the county.
Yes, yeah. Yes. That's for the homeless. Why don't you explain that for folks who don't know?
Yeah, the continuum of care is a HUD requires each area that receives funding for multiple organizations to collaboratively apply for that funding. So
for the homelessness services, right?
Homeless services. So the county, along with a lot of the service providers locally, created an entity called Everyone Home, a nonprofit entity. And that's the entity then that is the continuum of care that applies for, receives, and disperses federal funding locally for all these different programs. Now it's changing again because of the new and latest administration. HUD has altered a lot of their regulations and requirements. And so there's three kinds of housing that's being emphasized. Permanent supportive housing with wraparound services, rapid rehousing to get people back into housing quickly, and then transitional housing, which is people who haven't had maintained a household for some time, it prepares them to do that before they're in a place. So the money that's going for each is changing now. And what I've gotten concerned with personally is that the everyone home, that the continuum of care is nothing but a tangle of vested interests. And there's no independent oversight on what's going on there. And a lot of money goes through there. You may recall Governor Newsom had poured billions, a couple of billions of dollars into the COCs statewide, and it was unclear what happened to it. Most recently, there was a push to audit that, and he was a little resistant to it. I don't know why, maybe because he's got, election ambitions. But this is an issue, is the amount of resources going into these governmental and quasi-governmental entities, and then out to any number of nonprofits, NGOs, whatever. And what happens with that money? How many people actually are benefiting? How's that working? So one thing I'm concerned about is that in the whole configuration scheme of things, there is no advocacy, distinct advocacy for the participants and the beneficiaries, making them extremely vulnerable to organizations that have other priorities sometimes. So I and a couple other people have begun to create what's called home buds. We mean that in the sense of ombudsman. And home buds then will be people with lived experience who are advocates for the participants in the programs to even accompany them to meetings, and also to look to do some audits to find out more detail of what goes on, because a lot of the people that need the housing are not getting it, and they're getting inferior housing. And when you look into the budgets and the 990s of the organizations, you find other priorities. So that's something I'm very concerned with, and I think could benefit from more attention from the public and other organizations. The only other thing I was going to say, but Candida left, I'm of the vintage that we used to do households. Where a bunch of people would get together and co-rent, and we would have households back in the day, which I guess is social housing. I had a chance to address a special meeting on social housing that was convened by Buffy Wicks, where I talked about this, how a whole generation of us, did co-housing, did social housing. We didn't call it that, was all. And we learned a bunch of lessons about it, but later on, it fell out of favor as much. And I think we have as much to learn from how and why it fell out of favor as we do theories about what will work. We have to know what didn't work to get past that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. I want to continue that conversation personally, but just to know that part of social housing doesn't just mean collective housing. It can mean public housing, socialized housing. But one of the things is absolutely we have to include in that more resident governance, tenant participation, tenants' rights, and collaboration and cooperation, and a number of those group houses from the 60s and 70s, which is where I always lived, honestly, until I moved into a co-op. They were never permanently held and they were sold. But a few of them here in Berkeley and in San Francisco, especially in Oakland to some extent, have been bought by community land trusts and are still managed by the residents. So that's one of the great things that those lessons that you learned could be applied to. So yeah, it's harder and harder for a group of people to pool their money and buy a house because, as someone else was pointing out, land costs and properties are being sold for higher and higher amounts than at least when I was young. Not that I lived in a house that tenants bought, but I can tell you right now, the good news that I know that there's more and more interest in groups of people waking up and saying, hey, can we buy our house? Or buy our rental property. So just FYI, there's a wonderful, like 40-year tenants, it's a rental property owned by someone who wants to, she wants to sell 23 units of rental housing. And it happens to be right next door to where I live at Berkeley Co-housing. So we're kind of discussing opportunities to create a GoFundMe campaign or a permanent fund by which those in Berkeley who do have more than they need and their families taken care of could donate money to allow tenant groups to buy their property. Because there's at least 3 that I'm personally aware of that want to do that. Both so yes, the city might support those, but not in the full. So that's the courtyard, that's Strawberry Creek Lodge, and that's the farmhouse, which is like what you were talking about, Christopher. It's got 19 people living in 17 bedrooms. It's at that big mansion on Dwight Way, right near Sacramento. It's like Dwight Way and Spalding or something like that. All right. You know what? Have we done our agenda, Carol? Do we need anything more to share? Because we could just open it up and for the last, I guess, 15 or 20 minutes, everyone, or half hour if you're willing, but to share, like take 4 minutes and share whatever's on your heart, especially if you haven't spoken yet about where you think we should go. And then please be in touch about priorities.
That sounds like a good idea.
So can you track time or shall I? I'm looking for my
I
time.
will.
Okay, thanks. So we just ask you to keep to the 4 minutes. If you're in the middle of a sentence, of course you can finish it, but I see that Arlene is here, Susan is here, Dave Blake, and should I stop recording at this point? But we'll keep the transcript maybe. Okay, before we start, let me just read the chat. Or does someone have the chat in front of them? Okay. Who remembers Mario Savio? Bob said. That was a while ago. Rain said, my neighbor Judy was active with the Yippies back then. She wrote a book, by the way, called Yippie Girl. Carol, you said you knew somebody by reputation. I'm not sure what that was in reference for.
Mario Savio.
Oh, yeah. Candida, who's left, said, I was really impressed by the depth of knowledge among the people I met in terms of how to do social housing throughout people's lives. So this was in reference to the Addison Court, Strawberry Lodge, and yeah, I think those 2 groups on the tour Saturday, the affordable housing tour. Bob asks, would the Gray Panthers consider asking the question, why is it, do you think, that the 4th Amendment is routinely violated at every airport? So I'll take that to be something of special concern to you. Rains put in the link to the California Alliance of Retired Americans. And are the Zoom meetings always in the middle of the day like this one? They have been, but I do want to bring up to the board at least changing, because too many things are happening on Wednesday afternoons now with some of our allies. So I think, it's something we could consider, but the answer is yes, Bob.
I'll just note that I think we're in this particular slot because it was when the senior center space was available after lunch was done and when people were still there, when we were meeting in person a decade ago.
Yeah, thank you. That's probably very likely. it was geared
And it
to
worked
the.
with others that were free during the day, but obviously some it doesn't. And especially reaching out to younger members that still have daytime obligations.
Okay, Bob, also thank you from our history there. Bob, the USS Hornet has quarters for over 1,000 people, and this could function as a huge homeless shelter. Can you dig it? I've been hearing that idea for, yeah, I mean, living on a boat is not easy, but if you want to find out what happened to people who have lived on boats, those communities I think would be useful.
Great documentary, Gilligan's Island.
What is it?
Okay, Gilligan's Island as documentary.
Oh, okay.
It is, I mean, something that I've seen come up and certainly in disaster response, but and I know there's a lot being done on Alameda with former naval base facilities to create homeless.
It's still a big fight.
Yes,
Still a dispute.
Things are happening. But in general, though, anything you do on a boat is typically 10 times as expensive as trying to do the same thing on water. And yes, the physical structure is there, but there's so much more to keeping it safe, habitable to today's
I
standards.
think it's worth running by the Homeless
Oh, yeah.
Action Working Group and some of the
Absolutely.
existing leadership groups among leadership, the camps led by various leaders, particularly in Oakland, need to be the whole Wood Street Commons group, and Derek So, who has been a figure in creating safe mutual care camps for at least 8 years that I've been around. Anyway, I'll say, and Bob has a Substack, and he put a link in, a shameless plug, so that's fine. People can read up on his ideas there. Keep in touch, Bob. And hello, Arlene, do you want to check in brief? Why don't you be the first, if you don't mind, to start with the 4-minute sharing of what you're up to 4 minutes. You're not obligated. And then maybe Susan will want to share too.
I'm thinking about this whole housing situation, including the need to continuously build more affordable housing. And one of the things, there's a situation going on here in East Oakland with a senior unit. And I'm thinking about how we can partner the Gray Panthers. It's over 300 units, I believe. How can we partner? ACE is already working with them. How can we partner to begin to spread out from not only Berkeley to Oakland and to other outlying cities to partner together to, first of all, to form tenants unions, and secondly, to begin to look at the management companies that are taking care of these properties, and can we begin to think about possible class action lawsuits to take these suckers to court? That's one of my thoughts.
Woo.
Yeah. I've been going down a rabbit hole with a couple of things because you know what we have not stopped the extraction of housing, but we could go. This is the way I've been thinking about going at it from a different direction because the class action lawsuit, if in fact a class action lawsuit is done against the property managers and we win, because they have a lot of negativity on the Better Business Bureau and a lot of cases in court. This particular property manager is based in San Diego. But if in fact we won, that money could be used to fund properties that want to be bought by the tenants in the building, so that we don't have to constantly look only to the government who is not in our favor at this particular point. And so how can we find alternative streets? This could be one of them, as well as helping people to live a much better quality of life. So I'd like to talk to you later on about a conversation I really want to have with you. I was going to call you last night because I was so excited, but I didn't want to bother you. But anyway, I guess that's my time, because I think that we have to develop more allyship between the agencies that are doing the work and those who know how to do the training for gathering tenant, forming tenants unions. I'm also on a national board, and I want to speak to you also later
For
because
the
they want
Legal
to,
Services Foundation, right?
yeah, for the Legal Service Corp. And it's affiliated, supposedly. In any event, I was speaking to some people in Missouri who are looking to form tenants unions as well, and they're looking to open up an office because they're a HUD building. And so there are places across the country where we can do things not only here, but because we have to take care of our own home, put our own house in order. But how can we begin to spread this information across the country once we build? Viable models that are scalable. Thank you.
Sweet. Do you want to name the 300 unit senior building that you think is
I think it's
currently
called
at risk, or
you know what? I don't even know the name of it. Somebody sent it to me on TikTok or Instagram or
okay.
I have to find out the name of it.
Well, I'll interrupt to just say that Rains had a picture he was showing from the die-in. The moderator of the die-in was Valerie, who's the director of ACE.
That's who I'm talking about. That's
Yeah,
who I'm talking
so
about. Yeah.
she, we struck up a conversation, and she wants to talk with about Gray Panthers and what we're doing.
Because I brought up the fact that Gray Panthers has been involved in organizing tenants unions, and not only through HUD. I'm also thinking
Yeah.
about, well, the point person. I'm also
Yeah.
thinking about here we have the rent registry, and so we can do tenant unions. Not we could get information for private landlords as well as those who live in affordable housing or variations of HUD housing. So anyway, just some thoughts.
So right now, Arlene and Michael, I think of as as being sort of core housing team. Even you all have other organizational identities. Carol has always been there too, but so if there's a follow-up, and of course everyone's got their history and concerns, but if there's a follow-up to meet with ACE with Valerie, it might be she was just trying personally to organize me to serve ACE, but I think Arlene, you and I have other plans. So
yeah, I dropped your name in there, so
sorry. Arlene gets asked to moderate everything ACE is doing. I'm joking a little bit, but
thank you.
We have to have our own strategies, and clear vision, because that's just who we are. I mean,
but it's about collaboration.
It's about collaboration.
What some organizations have strength and some don't have those strength. So how can we lend our strength to those who don't have it? So to me, that's the point of the exercise.
Excellent. And maybe this idea of a housing teach-in, across Alameda County, that's something we can stimulate. I know in Berkeley, there's this issue about habitability in rent, especially even in rent controlled apartments. So we want to there's some interest and awareness growing thanks to BTU. And I think that's something we might be able to contribute to by recruiting students.
And I heard something from the medical law practice. I was at a board meeting, and how can we begin to utilize the health community for the quality of life in housing?
Absolutely.
Because there's a way that we could do it. Michael probably knows all about it. But anyway, how can we begin to incorporate multiple areas, not just one particular thing? That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, housing is health, health is housing. Let's work those connections. Beautiful. All right.
Well, I would like to say that we do have habitability laws, and you can ask somebody to come from that department to come and inspect your building, and then you can turn that, if it fails the inspection, you can turn that information over to your landlord or whoever and say, hey, look, if you want me to continue to pay rent, you better make it habitable. So there, we do have some protections, and we don't have to wait for somebody to come around and rescue us. We can take steps on our own as well.
Absolutely. And hopefully that's part of what Tenants Together and BTU is already doing on the education side of, I hope.
I hope they are too. I'm not that connected with them anymore. But.
Yeah. So I'm just going to make a note of, all these issues. How can we share and spread the knowledge and the resources for individuals and as a strategic alliances. That's okay. I'm speaking too much. Susan, we hadn't heard from you, and maybe you want to share what you're up to or your concerns, and you got to unmute. There we go.
I'm gonna pass. Sorry, I'm late. I was at another meeting.
We're so busy.
Thank you for the opportunity, but I'll pass.
Okay. Anyone else want their 4 minutes? Oh my goodness. All right. I know each one of you lives with interesting convergences and things going on. So
not really.
I can report back. I just came from visits the Seattle, Minneapolis, and Chicago related to co-housing and senior housing co-ops. In the Midwest, they really have it down, a large network of systems that can build and finance and arrange for member leadership up to 100 home projects that are not in limited equity most of the time in the ways that we look at affordability, but are and remain more affordable than market rate condominiums largely. They've got the infrastructure, they've got the developers, so it's impressive to see what they've built there. And partly it's quirks of state law, but a little bit having, once you have enough people saying we can make money at doing this, then it becomes possible to do it.
Who's making money off it, Rains?
There are commercial developers that make money off of creating and financing. Lenders also make money creating these senior co-ops as a particular form, especially in Minneapolis. In Minnesota, but nearby states as well, and it's spread as far as Colorado.
And we have a few of those in Berkeley.
But it's still pretty rare out here, and it does not nearly have the support system they've got there. And then also Betsy and I were both in Seattle at a National Co-Housing Summit, and it was eye-opening to see just what the national organization trying to support more affordability and inclusivity, and some great models that we heard about there. I'm trying to remember the name of the interesting one the talk was about. I'm just finding inspiration and looking forward to continuing this conversation. When we hosted at the beginning of May for Affordable Housing Month, the co-housing crawl included visits to tiny homes for the homeless, for homeless youth in Richmond, and other models that are really challenging the assumptions. There's a big article, a blog in the Berkeley side yesterday that I'll share a link to that, highlighting some of the different projects underway in the area. And people working to make things happen. I was going to say for the crawl, we had 120 RSVPs, and Parker Street Co-op was featured on that as well.
How many people actually participated?
More than half that.
Okay. So this is kind of adjacent to our Gray Panther work, but it does flow over into strategies for creating more affordable housing choices, even when we can't always build quickly enough. Then more choices that are also resident, trained and oriented for resident management. Not all of us are acclimated to making decisions in a group. It's not for the faint-hearted, but it can be done. So I will also say that one of the people that is the executive director or a staff member for the California Community Land Trust Network, who lives here in Berkeley. She came to the Saturday, much smaller. We had about 13, 14 people, came to the smaller walking tour of cooperatives and resident ownership opportunities in West Berkeley. So anyway, just if someone ever says co-ops are impossible, just tell them, hey, there's actually something like 300,000 plus cooperative people, actually units in cooperative housing, everything from a single family house to townhouses to an apartment building. So there's quite a few of them in the US, and in parts of the country, they're very, very popular. Minnesota being the number one. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gabbing too much. Christopher said goodbye, and Michael Hegarty had to go as well. So I'm, are there any last, does anyone want to take a few minutes to say what their priorities are? If we're off the mark with the health and housing slant, is there something else important, like parts of the city budgets? Or I won't even offer suggestions. We did come out and support we were against the flock, the additional money for drones that was up before the city council. And as I recall, Flock was the name of the company that was going to get these bid-free expanded contracts, and the city council decided to defer on whether or not to expand the contracts. So that was a victory for hundreds of people who came out against having.
We'll be happy to know that the FBI has just taken a small contract to start the program of instituting their own flock type of surveillance nationwide.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll be hearing more.
Would this be our new avian? When we talk about AI, is it actually avian intelligence?
Yes.
The federal bird investigators?
Carol, any last words?
No, I wrote down names for people that were here today, and I remembered all but one. We had a few people leave.
I got them all logged in our website as they're retroactively RSVP'd, even for those who didn't beforehand.
I have.
So you and Carol compare notes. Oops.
Arlene has a link to the Wood Street Commons block party.
When's that?
Friday.
This Friday?
Yeah, this Friday.
I do have something to report.
Where and when? Just say it aloud, and if people want to go.
I put the link in the
okay.
It is 2103 San Pablo Avenue.
5th annual block party and community resource fair. Sounds.
Yes, ma'am.
And do we know what time it is Friday?
1 to 4.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know we're wrapping up here. It is 12 to 5 p.m. and 2103 San Pablo Avenue.
And so I'm going to be tabling there with Laney Poor People Campaign, Oakland Connect. We're going to have some. So, if you want to bring some literature.
This is great.
Just
it's actually 1 to 4. I think the other is setup time or something.
Yes, set up and shut down.
Free community event with live music, amazing food, raffle prizes, service providers, clothing, haircuts, and more. And there's a contact number. If anyone's interested, in carpooling down, let me know. I think I would like to try and make it, although I have a commitment in the early part at around 1. Last but not least,
I do have something to announce.
All right. Thank you. So the third piece of the possible agenda, my thoughts at least, was I was invited to speak to people at Strawberry Creek Lodge about the election. I assume it's the primary, and I am not up. I am not up on the election. So if anyone is available to coach me or would like to come and speak to a few tenants at Strawberry Creek Lodge, just let me know and we'll be in touch. It's tomorrow at 1:00. So I'm hoping at least one person here has their eyes on the election, the primary. But not hearing anything, that's fine.
You can call me anytime. I know all about the election.
That's what I figured, Dave. Even in your sleep, you know all about it. Or travels.
Ask me about any California election for the past 30 years, and I can probably remember.
Oh, fantastic. And that said, what's your announcement, David?
We endorsed the transit measure with Connect Bay Area.
Mm-hmm.
This is the measure that funds BART and Muni for the next, I think, 6 years. Anyway,
basically to keep them alive. Yeah.
Keep them alive. And we endorsed it, and they've been signature gathering, and they set themselves a deadline a week ahead of the signatures have to be turned in. And Connect California, for its part, signed up to do, I think, 65,000 signatures, and they got 20% extra.
Woo! Excellent. So,
which means if everybody else did their party with a little, even we gave them a little slack, but if everybody else did even close to their part, we're going to make it.
That's great. And the billionaire tax is, I think, is still did something similar. The proposition I have just heard has not been finalized to be on the ballot, but it's very close. And there were plenty of signatures also. So we'll talk about that later. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. And Dave, do you have a poem appropriate to
Oh, I probably can come up with something. Hold on.
raise our spirits?
I looked through earlier and marked a couple of them. So, raise our spirits. Gee, that's not my usual style, but I'll do my best. Somebody unusual had a good quote here that I just read for this purpose. See if I can find that interesting person who you wouldn't normally think
While
of.
Dave's looking, I was thinking about seeing if we could book a library or something to make a June meeting a hybrid one.
July, you mean?
In
Oh,
person.
June, sorry.
June. So not confirmed yet, but keep an eye on your calendars and your emails.
Well, here's a quote that I haven't given you before, and it's very short, and I'll just say it. The painter Edward Hopper, who I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, said, "If you could say it in words, there would be no reason to paint." I'm still looking for the one that I picked up before that I thought was really appropriate. Oh,
I disagree with that.
anyway.
What do you use?
Well, you don't look at art just for messages.
Well, for sure.
Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure that's what I was saying. He was being sarcastic about people who keep coming up to him and saying, "What does your art mean?"
Oh, well, yeah, that's a dumb question.
That was his response.
Okay.
Okay. Where did this person
Great
go?
graphic, Rains.
If I could say in words, there would be no reason to Google images.
It has disappeared. The quote I had set aside, I thought I marked it. Well, there's got to be something that Ursula Le Guin said that's worth hearing. So I'll just pick randomly the first thing on my Ursula Le Guin list. Socrates said the misuse of language induces evil in the soul. He wasn't talking about grammar. To misuse language is to use it the way politicians and advertisers do, for profit without taking responsibility for what the words mean. Language used as a means to get power or make money goes wrong. It lies. Language used as an end in itself, to sing a poem or tell a story, goes right, goes toward the truth. A writer is a person who cares what words mean, what they say, and how they say it. Writers know words are their way towards truth and freedom, and so they use them with care, with thought, with fear, and with delight. By using words well, they strengthen their souls. Storytellers and poets spend their lives learning the skill and art of using words well, and their words make the souls of their readers stronger, brighter, and deeper.
Right on. Thank you, Dave.
It's always worth listening to Ursula Le Guin. You know, people, do people know, I'm sure you know her as the novelist, but you may not know that the K in Le Guin stands for Kroeber, and she was the daughter of the most famous American anthropologist in history, Theodore Kroeber.
I knew that.
Yep. Yep.
Who discovered Ishi, if you remember Ishi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, some might
Kind
say
of
that he had
captured
discovered
Ishi.
himself already.
Something like that.
That's a little unfair. That's a little unfair. We are viewing him through the prism of time. We wouldn't do it now. He did something a long time ago. Ishi was perfectly happy with being captured, since he was living out in the wild and almost dead. But he did
maybe not perfectly happy, but he accepted somewhat. I know we could someday. Wow.
Ishi went off
in that situation.
Ishi got bored of being on display in the museum and went off and lived in Bernal Heights in an empty hill there, and he ended his days out in the open with no shelter in Bernal Heights.
Wow, did not know that part. I am going to fade away and just appreciating all of you who got on and shared and good things to all of us, each and every one. Last words, Carol?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
If I had words, I wouldn't need fingers. No.
Here I can end with this one quote from Bill Watterson, Calvin and Hobbes. The surest sign that intelligent life exists elsewhere in the universe is that none of it has tried to contact it.
I remember that one.
Well, then it's up to
my
us.
last words are: don't forget to vote if you haven't done so yet.
There we go.
And if possible, to drop it off in a Dropbox or deliver directly.
City Hall, right in front of Berkeley City Hall.
Yeah. I haven't voted yet. So
well, there it is. Thank you. Who found that?
Let's encourage each other.
Who put that up? Is that you, Betsy?
No, Rains is the
I'm the
sheriff.
Oh.
He's the AV guy today.
Well
all
done.
Right. We'll all
Carol, will we see you at a social next month, perhaps? Is that planned?
Carol?
Social.
She's looking at the calendar. Now she's looking in the kitchen.
Say it again, Rains.
Will there be a social next month?
Will there be a social next month? Who are we supposed to vote on it or
that was
something?
addressed to Carol, who often hosts those at Horatio's or somewhere fun.
Rains, you're speaking to Carol, is that right?
Yeah, Carol.
Speaking to me?
Yeah, just
I'm
to
sorry.
say.
What did you say?
Social next month?
Somebody said something next door and I was listening.
He's asking you out.
So,
Watch it.
Watch it, you next
two.
Month?
Are we having a social, Carol? Are you going to be?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Second Wednesday at the deli.
Good old Horatio's.
1 to 3.
Next Wednesday, or at least next week, is our board meeting.
So
right.
Next month, which day next month, and at which deli?
For the social?
Yeah.
The one we always go to.
Horatio's.
The place on
Blake and Sacramento.
And, Sacramento?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the 17th.
All right.
Really? Wow.
Why would she lie?
Oh, I lose track.
Uh,
I thought it was that.
the 17th would be the third Wednesday. Is that right?
In this case, that's the third Wednesday.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the 10th.
That's more like it.
That's
All
what
right.
it's like.
Sorry.
June 10th and June 3rd.
The board.
Okay. See
And
y'all.
21st for Juneteenth. Yeah, much fun. Thanks everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. See you all.